Victor says, what is the best filter? That's debatable, bro. It could be any. It depends on what you like. In my opinion, the biggest, strongest, best filter right now is the FX6.
Yeah, but Daddy says I'm the best.
It's just a monster of a filter, and it does a great job. But some people also prefer sumps. So if you're those type of people that enjoy a sump, and you feel a sump does a better job, they'll say that the best filter is a sump.
I'm the best pushcart driver in all of Jamaica.
So to each his own. Steven Jeffrey says, after a water change and restarting my canister filter, the FX4, a ton of white junk comes flying out, even after I deep clean the filter.
Whoa.
It's your hoses, Steve. All that gunk is trapped inside your hoses. Most likely because when you feed your fish, you're probably overfeeding a little bit. But even if you're not overfeeding, most of your food is going into the filter intake. And then it's all getting trapped inside your hoses. So if that gunk is blowing out excessively like that, take your hoses off your tank, blow them out in your faucet or with the water hose outside, blow the hoses out. All that gunk will come out and then reinstall it back on your tank. Stuart Blake says, which canister filter should I use on my 70-gallon tank and how many? You could just use one. Now, depends on how overstocked your tank is, Stuart. If you have a moderately stocked tank, you could go with a Fluval 407. That will work absolutely fine. If you're going to keep African cichlids in there and you're going to overstock, which, I always advocate for overstocking African cichlid tanks, then I suggest you might as well go with a nice big FX6. Alex Cintron says, I have a 75-gallon, 17 cichlids, weekly 40% water changes. The glass gets brown spots and a few of the rocks. Water parameters are good, so what's my problem?
Whoa, hold your horses, man. What's the problem?
You don't really have a problem, Alex. Those are called diatoms, and they're very, very normal in a brand new tank, in a new setup. As your tank matures, those diatoms will eventually go away on their own. It's not a big deal. Like I showed you in the last camera view, I still have a little bit of diatoms. It's not a big deal. When you do your maintenance, just scrub it away. It'll come right off. It's not really hard to scrub off. And then as your tank matures, it'll stop growing on its own. Don't sweat it. Perfectly normal. Kev, is it absolutely necessary to do weekly water change on a cichlid tank? Oh boy.
And here we go.
This is a loaded question. I feel it already. Or is that just your personal preference? Would this apply for, say, a 55-gallon tank? Okay, the weekly water changes. Because my African cichlid tank is so overstocked, it is going to increase and raise the nitrates very fast. When you have nitrates in your tank going that high, that quickly, the only answer is to do water changes and get them out of there. The longer those nitrates stay in the tank and the higher they rise, the more damage you're doing to your fish. So that's why I do weekly and very big 80% water changes. Now, your question was a 55-gallon. It doesn't matter what size tank that you have. That's irrelevant. What matters is how much bio load you have in your tank, how much nitrates are being created, and how fast are they being created. If you have plants in your tank that will help reduce those nitrates, that might help you not doing such frequent water changes. But like with my guys, with my Africans, I can't even look at this camera no more, guys, because it looks so fuzzy. I'm changing. With my guys, because they tear up plants. By the way, guys, those are 2 fake plants that I just installed. Let me know if you like that green. I like it. I gave the tank a little splash of green, and I kind of like it. But those are fake plants. Because my guys destroy real plants. So I can't keep real plants in my tank. So I don't have the option of plants helping me reduce my nitrates. My only option is to do very frequent, very big water changes. That's why I do them, and that's why I recommend them to anyone that has an overstocked African cichlid tank. It's the best way to keep your tank clean and healthy for your fish. Joe Provenzo says, do you have pre-filter sponges on the intakes? I don't. It's my personal preference, guys, to not use pre-filters. Some people do, and they advocate for them a lot. But to me, it's just another thing that I have to dive into the tank and get out of there and clean more often than I need to clean my filters. I don't need the pre-filter sponge to trap detritus in it to prevent it from getting into my filter. I want the stuff to get into my filter, especially in FX6, that if everything is set up correctly, you don't have to clean out your FX6 frequently. You can go, I go 6 months plus without cleaning out my FX6s. So to me, the pre-filter is a way to prevent detritus from getting into the filter. I actually want stuff to go into the filter, so that's why I don't do it. Deshaun Smith says, how to take dust off new bag of sand. Pour all that sand into a bucket and then take a hose from outside Or if you don't have a hose outside, put it in your bathtub and turn the water on and fill the whole bucket up with water. And then kind of tilt the bucket over so the water spills out. Stick your hand in, mix the sand up, and let that dusty, cloudy water spill out of the bucket. Keep on doing that until that water eventually spills out nice and clear. When the water spills out nice and clear, you got all the dust out of the substrate. Now it can go into your tank. Kane77 says, is it best to feed my African haps 1 or 2 times a day, the most they can eat in 5 minutes? 5 minutes is way too long, bro.
Must go faster.
You want to feed no more than 60 seconds. Because any more than that, if the food is in the tank for 5 minutes before they get rid of it, you're going to get cloudy water. That's way too long to have food in the tank. That's way too much feeding. And no, you don't have to feed them 2 times a day. You could only feed 1 time a day for adult haps, and that's more than enough. 60 seconds or less, bro. 5 minutes is way too long. Tiffany says, how do you know how long to keep the hose on your FX6? Mine were not cut, and I think they're too long. Fluval tells you right in the instructions that you don't want to have any slack in the hoses. You don't want them looping around or a little loop-de-loop down through and then back up or around, because you hinder the power of the motor, of the power head on it. You want very little to no slack at all. Go from the output of the canister straight up to your tank. Or if you have to go across, go straight across your tank. No to little slack in your hoses. Chad says, why haven't you gotten a sump? Join the dark side. The reason why I haven't gotten a sump, Chad, and that's a great question, is mainly because my FX6s are doing a great job.
Cool. Yeah. If it ain't broke.
I mean, check the tank out, guys. It's doing a great job. I mean, the American tank has a lot of glare on it, so you can't see it because the other tank is reflecting off of it. But that water is always crystal clear. The African tank is always crystal clear. And I don't touch my FX6s for 6 months plus. So to me, I don't want a sump that I have to replace the filter sock every 2 or 3 days. I don't want the chance, the possibility of that water overflowing from the sump, because a sump is an open system, and that water is freely flowing up and down. If something happens, what is it? Is it Murphy's Law, guys? Murphy's Law is if something can happen, it will happen. I don't know if I'm getting the correct law, but I don't want that to happen. I don't even want to test that. With canisters, it's a closed system. A canister cannot overflow. It won't overflow. I'll tell you that much. Power can go out. Canisters are designed to not ever overflow. And I prefer that. That's why I haven't gotten into a sump. And since my tanks are crystal clear and they always stay clean, and why change it? Doing good. How do I get a tank to stop smelling? Your tank is smelling because you have too many organics in your tank, or organic matter, dying, decomposing fish that may have died that might be trapped in your tank, too much uneaten food being trapped, decomposing in your tank. All of those things are going to cause, and waste, obviously, your fish poop being trapped in your tank. All of those things are going to cause your tank to smell. Really quick and easy fix is to add activated carbon to your tank. That's going to absorb those smells and get the smell out of there. But that's kind of like a temporary fix. If you don't fix the issue of what's causing the smell, you're going to have to just always keep adding carbon to your tank to get rid of it. I also have a whole entire video on that topic. Just Google, search Kaveman smell or Kaveman stink, something like that. I hope nothing weird comes up when you search Kaveman stink, but I have a video on that. Check it out. Jamal says, how does the beneficial bacteria stay in the eco complete sand? Does it stay forever? You will always have beneficial bacteria growing in your sand, in your substrate, no matter what it is. I don't know if you're asking about how does it stay in that specific sand. These manufacturers know how to seed the sand, and they keep it wet and they ship it wet, and then the bag is kind of moist to keep the bacteria alive. So they know what they're doing for that specific sand to arrive with beneficial bacteria in it. But if you're talking about just in general in a tank, bacteria grows on all of your surfaces. The surface of your substrate always has beneficial bacteria on it because they have that surface to attach themselves to, and there's a good oxygen flow in your tank. That's how the bacteria stay there, get there, grow there, and live there. Does it stay forever? Yes, unless you manipulate your sand too much and you kill them off by disturbing them too much, then they'll die off, but they'll reproduce and regrow. Dai says HOB versus canister. Canister filters are going to always be stronger and better than an HOB, but if you're not ready to upgrade to a canister, there's nothing wrong with a good HOB. There are HOBs out there that do a great job. One specifically is the Seachem Title. Yes, I am a Seachem ambassador, but I guarantee you the Title blows all these other HOBs out of the water. So stick with the HOB until you're ready for a canister. And when you're ready for a canister, you won't go back to an HOB. Bronx Bomber says, what's your secret to removing tannins from the wood? It's not really a secret. Many people know this. Before you add the wood to your tank, you want to try boiling it.
Oh, snap!
Right? Boil your wood as much as you can for about 20-30 minutes. Give it a good boil. If you could fit it in a pot, you know, if the wood is that size, you could put it on a pot and boil it. But even after that, or even if you can't do that, you need to soak that wood for 24 hours plus. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days if you can. The longer you soak it, the more tannins will come out of it, and then you can add it to your tank. It may even still have some tannins in it, but then with water changes, it'll eventually all come out. As you can see in the American tank, there's no tannins in there at all, but that wood was leaching for a while when I first got it, but it eventually all came out. We have a membership here on Kaveman Aquatics. If you decide to support the channel with your membership, you get a couple of extra perks. The Tank Boss levels, we do members only live streams twice a month, just like this, but a much smaller group of us, and I get to everybody's question, and we have a lot of fun. So if you feel like you want to support the channel membership is the way to do it.